No lie has its ups and downs. Turn your pretty face to an ugly frown. Seems that when I fix one thing.
Hello, welcome to The Awakening. I'm your host, Angela Brown. Today's topic for discussion, need money, go see a woman. I have a young lady on the show with me today. Her name is Sharonda Williams, and she is a tax consultant. She'll be doing all your taxes in the next 60 days. Let's hope you can do everybody's. So she's coming on my show for the next 30 minutes. I'd like for you to sit back, relax, put your feet up, and just watch a wonderful show. Welcome.
Thank you, Angela.
You've got a beautiful smile. Shake my hand.
How are
Thank you. Thank you. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Sharonda Williams. I
Yes.
practice accounting under Accounting and Tax Solutions. That's the name of my company in Largo, Maryland.
Okay.
I basically perform accounting services, taxes, financial planning for businesses, self-employed individual people, do all types of strategic business planning. I just like to see people financially sound and whole and just practice financial wellness.
Well, you look very smart, so I think looking at your eyes, you are very serious too.
Yes, I am.
You know, we can sit here and talk and laugh, but I think when you're doing your job, you do a good one.
Oh, yes.
That's good because it's important to you.
Yes, it's very important to me.
And we were talking, I'm only going to talk about this for a second. You're divorced,
Yes,
but that's okay.
yes.
Okay? Go ahead.
Well, I want to talk in particular about, and when it comes to people who are in financial transition, that's what I talk about. Divorce sometimes bring financial transition into the lives of people.
Right.
You don't know what to expect. You don't know if you're coming out with assets. You don't know if you're coming out in indebtedness. You don't know if you're coming out taking care of the children. You don't know where you're going to be, where you're going to go sometimes. And people just don't know how to financially respond to that.
Is it better to have a prenuptial agreement before you go in?
Well, that depends upon the individual. Some people like the idea to say, well, you know, if you really want to be with me, you're going to allow me just to, you know, partake in everything in your life. Some people nowadays feel that because they come into marriage well established, already with assets, they want a prenuptial agreement. A lot of people have children and assets, you know, that they want to carry out in a different way, and yet they still want to continue a financial life with their potential spouse.
Right.
So it really depends upon the individual.
I've heard a lot of people talk, though, about getting a prenuptial agreement. Well, you don't love me, you don't trust me.
Well, some people do think that. That's what the prenuptial agreement means, that you don't love me. You think I'm in it just for, you know, the money. But for the most part, you need to do what's well for your relationship.
What about the Hollywood movie stars?
Well, I would suggest a lot of times that's important. You see a lot of Hollywood movie stars sometimes, they don't stay in marriage for a long period of time. Let's just face it. That's just reality.
It's like a game they play for maybe a year, and probably some of them only make it to a year.
Right. It's not about commitment with them sometimes. It's just about show.
No, I think
Hollywood.
it's about sex and excitement.
Well, that's part of the problem,
and that wears
too.
off, you know. It doesn't last forever.
That's true.
As I was telling you, I went through a divorce, and I didn't have a prenuptial agreement. But the situation that I was in, I had a good attorney, which I didn't like after a while, and I defended myself. And I really came out well. So like I asked you before, if you purchase a car with your husband when you're married, okay, and you decide to get a divorce, the car is in his name, the bill, but the car itself is in your name. Would he give me money? Well, I know he didn't give me money, but anyway, could you have the money paid for them from his side of the funding?
Yes, you could. That needs to be explained in the divorce decree.
Okay, in the divorce decree.
Now, I'm not a legal expert on this, but the divorce decree a lot of times determines how things are going to be allocated. For example, if you own the car, the husband is still making the payments on the car, he is still responsible for the payments. So you want to make sure that he's making the payments.
Okay.
You don't want to wake up one day and your car gone, okay?
Exactly,
So you just
exactly.
want to make sure things are being accounted for financially in those particular type of situations.
All right, let's talk a little bit about alimony.
Okay. Now, when it comes to alimony, in several cases, men and sometimes women do receive alimony. Alimony is based again upon the divorce decree, and sometimes it's over a period of time. Alimony becomes income to the person who receives it. Okay. And also, with it comes alimony, you basically get a certain amount of money over a certain period of time. And sometimes, you know, it's maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. But at certain point in times, that normally does wear out. Or sometimes it can be based upon when the person lives or how long they live. It just, again, goes back to the divorce decree.
So divorce decree is very, well, I would think a prenup would be the most valuable thing. What do you think?
Well, it would be in some cases because it would set, of course, those terms in advance if
When
anything
you were happy.
happened. Yeah, when you were happy
And
and
love
everything
and
was
everything was
wonderful
going
and
good.
great and he was the love of your life and, you know, everything was fantastic.
Right.
So the prenuptial agreement comes to those times when things are not okay. So it makes sure that, you know, you have the best of both worlds. You know, you're very clear about what the terms are going to be.
Right.
And you can just take those things and just hopefully move on with your life.
Okay, if a couple are married and they choose to get a divorce, they have, say, 2 or 3 children, okay? And he offers her, he has to pay alimony for her and child support. Will she have to pay the taxes on the child support, or will he have to continue paying the taxes on the child support?
No, the
It's going to
child
her.
support isn't deductible and it's not income for her either. So it is a wash on that particular thing.
You're kidding.
Yes, it is. What happens is this, he has to be responsible for paying the child support. In other words, sometimes it's, again, according to the divorce decree, sometimes they have to go to the courts. Sometimes if you go to the courts, they specify a certain amount of monies each month. Sometimes it's maybe withheld from the spouse's check. However it comes, it's just, you know, important that number one is received. That's the most important thing, that they get it.
Yeah, you get it.
And, you know, for the most part, it's not income or deductible as an expense, so therefore it's somewhat of a wash.
I watch Judge Joe Brown sometimes, and even Judge Judy. And what is really befuddling me, there will be a woman in there trying to get her child support, but the man quit his job.
And that happens a lot, and it's so,
happens a whole lot.
unfortunate because,
Why?
you know, I really, you know, it's just hard for me to get my hands around something like that because
But I
here's
bet
this
you could do a good
child.
job
Oh
with
yes,
that.
I could. Okay. I mean, you have this child has come in the world who's so
That the 2 of you
innocent
made.
that the 2 of you made. Okay, didn't ask to be here, but's here now and needs to be taken care of. And you know, for the man who would go quit his job so that he doesn't have to pay child support, what do you think of your child?
Exactly.
You know,
It's the
that's
child
the issue. And then all of a sudden, you know, the child goes through life at times and really have an attachment towards the mother. And then the father can't understand why he has an attachment, where the mother was there taking care of him, providing for him. Okay, or her.
Right.
So therefore, you know, we have these type of issues. So it's very important to provide for your children.
If you don't make them.
Correct. Don't make them.
Don't make them.
Don't
Right.
make them. And at a minimum, you know, pay the monthly child support. Child support doesn't cover a whole lot.
No,
it
it
really
doesn't.
does. It
No.
doesn't cover food. I mean, it doesn't cover tuition payments for school. It doesn't cover child care. None of that.
That's right.
It's just a drop in the bucket. If you just ask any single
But
mother,
something
they'll
should
tell
be
you
done
that.
about that. Something should be done about that, don't you think?
I agree with
I mean,
you.
having a new baby right now, it can cost you $180 a week at a daycare center.
Correct.
You know, you're looking at a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And if you go to the guy, well, I'm married, but if you go to the guy and you tell him this is going to cost me $180 a week, I know people who quit their jobs.
Right.
They quit their job. They don't want nothing to do with you. And that's me. A woman gets dumped on. I'm
No,
sorry.
and
A woman gets the end of it.
That's true. And that's so unfortunate.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
It's very sad, and it's a reality that we have to deal with. But what a woman should do in situations like that, even though you've been dumped on, you can't allow yourself to continue to go in life with this woe is me type attitude.
Right.
What you have to do is bounce back.
How do you do
from
that?
situations like this? First of all, I equate this situation just like a bird who has young chicks in a nest. If you can imagine that.
I can
okay?
imagine.
You can
I got
imagine that.
birdhouses. Watch them come and go.
Right,
Yeah.
you can watch that. But first of all, you have to take care of the nest.
Yes.
And the nest for a single parent is basic. You got to take care of shelter, food, clothing
Diapers
for
and
the
milk.
children. You know, you've got to make sure that these things at a minimum are taken care of, okay? And then after that, you have to kind of make the nest comfortable. And what that means sometimes is making sacrifices. If you look at the cost of housing in this area, you may have to be creative in terms of how you live now. For example, if you have a child and you have a friend who have a child, and say for instance, you know, you may come and just say, well, let's share a house together as opposed to 2 individual apartments. Maybe we can can cut down on the expense, okay? Or if you have a home and you have extra bedrooms, you can, get a renter in just to get some extra income. What you have to do is make living not so burdensome because of the situation that you're in, and that requires sacrifices.
Yes, it takes understanding too, and forgiveness of the divorce.
Yes, it does.
Yes,
it does take a lot of forgiveness. The other thing it also does too, you have to take care and think about the time when the nest is going to be empty. And that is, you got to take care of yourself.
Exactly.
And too often, women just don't take care of ourselves in situations like this because we're so busy taking care of everyone else.
Plus, we don't really understand what you're talking about sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult.
That's right.
A man can promise you anything, take you to bed, and you believe it all. That's the truth.
That's correct.
That's what one of my friends told me. Tell her that thing, Just going to bed seems to smooth everything out, and you're going to get your money. It's not going to be like that.
No. You'll wake up in the morning and
yes.
you'll say, last night was great and wonderful, but now is a new day.
Yeah. Like I tell my friends, our brain only sees what our heart wants to feel.
That's correct.
So you've got to go into this knowing and looking and feeling, not just sexual and stuff like that. I'm being very honest.
That's right.
It can be so confusing.
But you have to, I think, take care of yourself. That's
how
the
do you
issue.
take care of yourself?
Well, first
let me
of all,
give you a little scenario.
Okay.
Suppose I'm married and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, like maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, something like that.
Okay.
And my husband wants a divorce and he walks off with another woman with me. What do I do?
Okay.
Sharonda, tell me, what do I do?
Okay, like I said first, you got to make sure the nest is taken care of.
Okay, but suppose I didn't do that.
Okay, it doesn't matter. The issue becomes you have to kind of come out of your situation and think about the priority of what is important.
Think about life.
Think about life and
Exactly.
what has happened to you, okay? You can't dwell on the past or what he did to me and I shouldn't have been treated this way. You may have your little time when you have your woe is me. But sister, one day you have to wake up and you have to make a decision every day to put one foot in front of the other and move ahead because you have a life in front of you.
Yes.
Life isn't over after
But so many
divorce.
women think life is over.
Oh, no,
I'll
it's
lose that man. He was
not.
such a good guy.
No.
He was such a good guy. He wouldn't walk away with another woman, right? I'm serious. I get so tired of these talk shows, but it's true. I mean, they just walk out with their clothes and they're gone, and they can forget you and the children.
Yeah, but see, it goes back to commitment. We live in a time now where people don't want to be committed.
Then why do they have sex and start a family?
Because it just feels good. And people take the attitude, if it feels good, just do it. Okay, and that is just irresponsible.
It is.
We have a society, we produce a society of people who just share irresponsibility. They make babies, they go on, and they just go on from one thing to the next, and no one wants to be responsible. So the reality comes, people can go from one relationship to other because, hey, I can get in and out of it, and I don't have to be responsible. So too often, we have to deal with the consequences, and a lot of those consequences, believe it or not, they're financial consequences, because poverty is almost doomed for the woman who doesn't bounce back from a divorce financially strong. It really is.
It is. And also, an education is a prime way to get rid of it, too.
Oh, no doubt about it.
You must have some kind of education.
You have to have an education nowadays. I mean, having a high school diploma, even having a college diploma sometimes is not sufficient.
That's right.
In some jobs, they want, a master's, equivalency. So, we have to be educated. So, regardless of where you find yourself, you've got to get yourself to a place that I'm here, this has happened, and I have to move on. I have to take care of the necessities of life. And then I have, like you were saying earlier, how do you find the time to do that? Well, one of the things you have to do, you kind of have to develop networks around you. Family is a great network to
But
develop
families
in.
just go by you. No, I don't have that $20 I can loan you for milk, or I don't have $100 I can loan you for rent.
But they may have time sometimes. Sometimes it's just as simple as, can you come over and keep the kids while I go work out? Exercise for an hour.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because that brings a woman down to her own level when she can get out and pump iron.
Of course.
She's doing it for herself.
I love exercise.
I do too. I do 20 miles on a stationary bike every morning.
You go, girl.
Yes, I lost 36 pounds. 36 pounds. I went from
Get outta here.
12, 14 to a size 4 and sometimes a 5.
Well, you're looking good.
Thank you. And you look good too.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. When I get off that bike, I mean, I am charged. I could run a horse race myself.
Well, I still feel the same way when I got the gym.
Yeah.
You know, I run this interval things now. You know, I'm going up to like 6.0
good too,
running,
girl.
and I'm
Aren't you
pumping
glad?
iron, and I just love it. You know, and you feel so good, you feel so great, but most of all, you've taken care of yourself.
Yes.
After you spend every day, I've done everybody's taxes and talked to this person and counsel with that person, now I can take care of myself.
can take care
and
of
I
yourself.
feel good about taking care of myself.